on NewsHour tonight. In a bid to cut down government expenditure, President Tinubu orders full implementation of the Orosanye report. Protests erupt in Osun, Edo as Nigeria Labour Congress prepares for nationwide march despite government pushback. Police hunters rescue 40 kidnapped victims in Taraba. And on the foreign scene, Human Rights Watch Amnesty International accuse Israel of failing to comply with ICJ orders in war on Gaza. Hello and welcome to Trust News Hour tonight. I am Eugenia Abu. President Bola Tinubu has ordered the full implementation of the Orosanye report. Consequently, it announced the merging, subsuming, scrapping and relocation of several agencies of government. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, revealed this to State House correspondents after Monday's Federal Executive Council meeting at the Aso Rock Villa in Abuja. The President thereafter constituted a committee to implement the mergers, scrapping and relocating within 12 weeks. Submitted in 2012, the Orosanye report and public sector reforms revealed that there are 541 statutory and non-statutory federal government parastatals, commissions and agencies. The 800-page report recommended that 263 of the statutory agencies be slashed to 161, 38 agencies be scrapped, 52 merged, and 14 reverted to departments in various ministries.
Details as what this entails, but it is important to note that the fact that the Orosanye report has been approved and adopted by Council today does not mean that people will lose their jobs. All those who are employed, whether they have been moved, subsumed, or scrapped, will find accommodation within relevant government agencies. Nobody is going to lose his job as a result of that. It is important that we make that very clear. Again, apart from the Orosanye report, there is also a decision taken by Council today. Recall that about 6 weeks back, early in January, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu set up an interministerial panel headed by the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister for the Economy to review the affairs of the National Social Investment Program. Today, the committee has finished its job. About 6 ministers are involved. Like I said, the Minister of Finance and the Coordinating Minister of the Economy is the chairman. It had the Minister of Health, Minister of Budget and National Planning, Minister of Information and National Orientation, Minister of Communication and Digital Economy, and the Honorable Minister of State for Youth. They were all members of that committee. All of them served in that committee, and the report has been submitted. An interim report, actually, a final one is going to go to Mr. President. It has been submitted today, considered by Council, and submitted to the President. I will now call on the Honorable Minister of Finance and the Coordinating Minister of the Economy to discuss some of those aspects that were discussed today that are of relevance to Nigerians to know.
Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, speaking to State House correspondents. We now have joining us in the studio, Kainde Amodu, our in-house analyst and State House correspondent. Welcome to Trust News Hour.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, let's start by asking you what implications this order by the President will immediately have, and how soon is this directive to be implemented?
This is not a new report. A report that was presented in 2012. That's about 12 years ago. Now, as it is the way of government, after this report, after this directive, there's going to be a committee that will be set up to review the report and see what is immediately implementable. And then what will be implemented later on. The question to ask is how soon is government, does government really have the political will to implement the report. Because apart from the fact that people will be moved around, apart from the fact that some people will lose their jobs, apart from the fact that heads of parastatals and agencies are likely to lose their jobs, does government have the finances to actually do all of this, to merge, to change locations of offices, to bring offices together in a particular space? These are all the issues that will come up. So I don't think it's something to get overly excited about in the immediate. There's still a lot of processes that this will go through.
There's still a lot of processes that this will go through. I mean, the first objective, of course, as you heard, is to cut costs. What would be on the president's mind, especially concerning the loss of jobs by some federal government workers who owe their livelihood, especially at this time, to these jobs when Nigerians are protesting hardship in the land?
Well, I think, and this is a personal opinion, that the president, does the president have the political will to do so? I believe that he does, as has been shown in his implementation of reform of the economy. Will the president do so will now depend on the circumstances, the exigencies of this situation. Will the president plunge straight in again and then cause more? You know, we're already in the heat of it all. Will he plunge in again and then cause more uproar? Or will he wait for an opportune moment to do so? I believe that the whole issue of cutting down of government costs is working according to recommendations that have been made to him by Western-backed financial institutions. It will now depend on him to employ his wisdom and tact to see when best to implement this policy. But the fact that he has already started along this policy already shows that he has the mind to do public sector reforms, and he will do so.
Talking about public sector reforms in terms of implementing, scrapping, merging, subsuming organizations, you said at the beginning of this interview, does government actually have the funds to do this? Could you speak to that just for a few minutes?
Well, it's huge. We are talking about merging of 220 out of 541 government agencies. We are talking about no fewer than 102 heads of agencies and parastatals losing their jobs. We are talking about severance pay in some parts. We're talking about buildings, government cost of movement. Like, for instance, the people that have been moved within the central bank to Lagos now would have, according to civil service rules, would have to have relocation allowances. And those are all things that will have to come out of the already lean budget of government. So how this is going to be implemented is left, you know, they are the ones that will work it out. But I don't think in the immediate that government has the funds to do this in the immediate. It might now be a policy that will be implemented in phases. But that would probably be the most advisable way to go.
Public sector reforms and the Orosanye report. We thank you for speaking with us. There we have Kainde Amodu, our in-house analyst and State House correspondent, speaking to us about President Tinubu ordering a full implementation of the Orosanye report. Despite mounting pressure and appeals for reconsideration, the Nigeria Labour Congress remains resolute in its decision to stage a protest on Tuesday and Wednesday this week. Union leaders have reiterated their commitment to take to the streets as planned, citing the urgent need to draw attention to critical issues affecting workers and citizens alike. Jimmy Azande has the next report.
In conversations with Trust TV News in Makurdi, individuals from various sectors emphasize a common thread: the pervasive hardship affecting Nigerians regardless of their employment status. while acknowledging the diversity of workers' demands, spanning federal, state, local government, and private sectors. Participants underscored the overreaching impact of the current economic challenges.
So we are joining them because most of the things the National Secretariat has announced, they are right. The economic aspect of it is very, very crucial. Because today you go and buy something, and take for instance, you go and buy a cement at the rate of 5,000 naira or 10,000 naira. By the time you go back to buy it, it will be 20,000 naira. So we want the economy to be stable. We don't want an economy that is unstable. There is so many things can go wrong. So
the situation in the country is whatever you want to propose is even not adequate because things keep changing every day. So even if you are going to give a civil servant ₦1 million, you see that things will change so that by tomorrow or next you have a bag of rice and that's ₦1 million. So what is there is that people have to be conscious of what they are doing. Marketers, traders also should think that what they are selling should be commensurate, not just inflating the price because the same money has come.
Amid preparations for the forthcoming protests, there is optimism among participants that the two-day event will transpire peacefully. Notably, relevant security agencies in the state have been actively involved and briefed on schedule of activities. This collaborative approach between organizers and security agencies instills confidence in the peaceful conduct of the protests, fostering an environment conducive to effective expression of grievances.
As far as Nigeria is concerned, Labour is the only hope of workers, both civil servants and private workers. Labour is the only hope. Because if you look at what is happening in the country now, there's no way you ask Labour to stay back because you understand the situation and you know what's happening. No. If you actually know what's happening, why can't you know the solution to profit with that thing that's happening? I think Labour felt that this is the best way they can register their grievance and also let Gomo understand that this is something that they cannot afford to continue with. The situation is appalling. So we need to actually make things work out for Nigerians.
And so at this point in time, we are demanding for an immediate, as a matter of fact, an immediate alternative for this fuel subsidy removal. We thought Mr. President had plans in pipeline as he immediately removed fuel subsidy, that these plans could as well prompt out, as a matter of fact, to cushion the effect of the fuel subsidy. But from the look of things, 8 months down the stream, we have seen nothing. In fact, the hardship is continuous day by day, and so we feel there was no plan in the pipeline in the first place.
The Nigerian Labour Congress has directed its members across the country to protest against the hardships currently faced by Nigerians as a result of removal of fuel subsidy, inflation, and devaluation of the naira, despite pushbacks from the government on security. Jimmy Azande, Trust TV News, Makurdi.
In the meantime, residents of Osun State took to the streets of Osogbo, the state capital, on Monday to voice their discontent over the prevailing economic hardships in Nigeria. Brandishing banners adorned with poignant messages, the protesters conveyed their urgent plea for the federal government to address the pressing issue of economic hardship gripping the nation. Hamidu Yegbade files this report.
Amidst a sea of banners bearing powerful messages, members of the Joint Action Front converged at the Freedom Park in Osogbo to embark on a determined march through the city from Ajegule to Station Road, Fagbewisa, and concluding at the Olaiya Junction. The protesters traversed key routes amplifying their call for an end to economic hardship in Nigeria. With various slogans, demonstrators sought to draw attention to the plight of the masses and the urgent need for government intervention. Comrade Waheed Saka, a prominent leader of civil societies in Osun State, pinpoints the root cause of the economic crisis, attributing it to what he perceived as policy failure surrounding the fuel subsidy removal under President Bola Tinubu's administration.
Today's protest was about mobilizing our people for a bigger and larger protest of Nigerian Labour Congress and Nigerian people to challenge the president of the country on not only the policy failure of subsidy removal, but a incessant increment on the food and livelihood of our people. We have reached a level that we cannot continue to keep silent.
Others called on President Bola Tinubu to act promptly to address economic crisis, saying that the situation has become unbearable for most people in the country.
A minimum wage in Nigeria, which is 30,000 naira, it is still the same thing. Yet, the prices of everything are going higher every day. People are clamoring. Prices are going higher. People are hungry. People are suffering. So we need this protest so that we can have the change that we are actually clamoring for.
Right. We are experiencing a lot concerning food, everything, even though concerning all these drinks, favorite something in the market, everything was going up. Please, government, please, just help us to cut everything down to our own size.
Officers and personnel from the Nigerian Police Force and the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps stood in solidarity with protesters, ensuring peace and order throughout the demonstration. Their unwavering presence served as deterrent against potential disruption by hoodlums, underscoring their commitment to safeguarding the right of citizens to peaceful assembly and expression. Amid Oyegbade, Trust TV News, Osogbo.
In a related development, the Police High Command on Monday said it has put its officers nationwide on red alert and directed them to protect all members of the Nigeria Labour Congress who will take part in the protest against the current hardship being faced in the country. The force also warned those planning to hijack the protest in order to cause mayhem in the country to stay away, insisting that the force is fully prepared to deal decisively with anybody who attempts to cause violence. The Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, who stated this at Force Headquarters Abuja, explained that all commissioners of police and their respective supervising officers have been briefed adequately. Speaking through the spokesman of the force, Olumuyiwa Adejobi, Egbetokun added that the senior officers were instructed to coordinate officers on ground to ensure the safety and security of all participants if the protests hold as planned. He affirmed the fundamental right of all citizens of the country to engage in peaceful protest in line with extant laws, but warned that the protest must remain peaceful. In the meantime, the police in Delta State has ordered the immediate deployment of police personnel across the state ahead of the planned protest by NLC and TUC on February the 27th and 28th, 2024. The command's public relations officer, DSP Bright Edafe, disclosed this in a statement to journalists on Monday. In the statement, Edafe said the move was in line with the directive of the Inspector General of Police to ensure adequate security and safety during the protest and to ensure that the protest is not hijacked. He noted that the State Commissioner of Police, Abaniwanda Olufemi, during an interaction with area commanders, tactical commanders, and DPUs, directed them to put in place measures to forestall the breakdown of law and order. According to Edafe, the CP directed the State Intelligence Department to deploy undercover operatives who will monitor and report back findings. He therefore warned all intending protesters that anyone found wanting would be immediately arrested and prosecuted in accordance with the law. While urging residents to go about their lawful duties without fear, as modalities have been put in place to ensure that the protest is peaceful, he noted that nobody can be forced to be part of the protest. Ahead of the planned nationwide protest by the Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, on Tuesday and Wednesday, the Delta State chapter and affiliate unions on Monday began mobilizing members for the nationwide protest slated for February the 27th and 28th over the cost of living crisis in the country. According to them, the protest is against the economic hardship being experienced in the country, as well as the federal government's failure to fulfill its promises after a 14-day ultimatum. Jonathan Anwange completes the report.
In an interview with Trust TV, the women said they are battling with soaring cost of food items such as rice, beans, garri, palm oil, tomatoes, onions, fruits, and the Delta State Council of the Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, and its affiliate union says the mobilization is an indication of their preparedness for the protest, which is in compliance with the national directive for a nationwide protest in the country.
it is a combination of all the interdependent parts, coming together. All the affiliate unions, they are going to come with at least, we'll give a certain number of persons expected, for this protest tomorrow, depending on the size of each union. So I want to assure you that we are not going to fail the people. And we pray that at the end of the day, it's going to yield results.
A continuous increase. If it has increased once and stopped, we know we have a relief. But in this case, a continuous increase. You go to the market today, and tomorrow you go again. The same item will be sold for a different price. So it's uncomfortable with everybody. No matter your take home, you cannot survive with such an economy or survive in such system. When you go to the market, you cannot predict what the price will be.
We go. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. And even not the rich ones are not crying as well. So it is just on the masses or the citizens to go on street to make sure our cry is heard by the executives.
Food is, we discovered that the hardship with the country is on increase on daily basis. And we felt that we need to let our people know that Labour is not happy with the present condition of the country. So we decided to go on peaceful protest.
They said the situation in Delta State has become so pathetic as workers have been subjected to abject poverty occasioned by the high cost of living. The Labour leaders urged Governor Sheriff Oborevwori to take practical steps to reduce the sufferings of the workers in the state. Jonathan Awaye, Trust TV News, Asaba.
Thank you, Jonathan. Early Monday morning, residents of Benin City, the capital of Edo State, heeded the call of Edo civil society organizations to participate in a mass protest against the prevailing economic challenges in Nigeria. Gathering at Ring Road, the heart of the city, Nigerians from all walks of life united in solidarity to voice their grievances. The protest, organized by EDOSCO, drew crowds who marched through major thoroughfares such as Akpakpava and New Benin, eventually converging at Uselu Shell. Amid chants and placards highlighting their demands, demonstrators occupied the area, amplifying their message of discontent with the current state of affairs in the country. As the demonstration continues to unfold, the resilience and determination of the people of Benin City serve as a reminder of their unwavering commitment to effecting positive change in the nation.
This country, not be for sale, not be for sale. It's Nigeria, our own. This country, not be for sale.
And still on the mass protest, the Maritime Workers Union of Nigeria has vowed to shut down the nation's seaport in line with the two-day nationwide strike called upon by the Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC. NLC had at the weekend announced that its members and affiliate unions are mobilizing for a two-day national protest on February the 27th and 28th. It said the action followed the federal government's failure to implement all the agreements signed with the union in October of 2023 after the expiration of the 14-day ultimatum issued earlier. Rising from an emergency meeting held at its headquarters in Lagos, the leadership of the Maritime Union said it would join NLC to protest the current hardship and hunger ravaging the country. The head of media, MWUN, John Kennedy Kemefuna, in a statement issued on Monday after the emergency meeting, said if government had honored the agreement and implemented it, it would have gone a long way to ameliorate the sufferings and hardships brought upon the Nigerian workers and the citizenry of the country. The president of the Trade Union Congress, TUC, Festus Osifo, says members of the Congress will not join the nationwide protest because the Congress was not part of the plan. Osifo, at a press briefing, said the union would rather engage the government further to find solutions to the hardship being faced by Nigerians than going to the streets. The president of Nigeria Labour Congress, Joe Ajero, last week told journalists that the Congress would be embarking on a two-day nationwide protest to press their demands. Ajero had insisted that the labor movement would not back down on its planned action despite a series of warnings from the Department of State Services, Police, and the Attorney General of the Federation. But speaking at the briefing, Osifo explained that the 2UC was originally not part of the plan, and as such, it would present a fresh 15-point way forward to the government rather than taking over the streets. Earlier, we had in the studio the head of Information Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, Benson Upa, to speak on the impending protest.
Message to the government and the people of Nigeria. Comrade, as always, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us on the news update. First, let me just get your quick reaction, speaking on some of these developments. We understand that the TUC is not going to be a part of it. However, the NLC is moving ahead with this planned protest. Give me a sense of what Nigerians can expect, and also how unified is the Labour Congress in going ahead with this planned protest?
Yeah, thank you very much for this opportunity. Yes, TUC is not going to be part of this action with us this time around, but we have the capacity and the will to forge ahead. As for our internal unity, it is intact. And as you know, we have no sectarian, we have no political motivations. We are always guided by patriotic sentiments, the national interest. That is what we are guided by.
Right. We've seen pockets of some of these protests, not one organized by the NLC, but one organized by people who believe that they are laying the grounds or setting the stage for the commencement of the two-day protest that is set to commence on Tuesday and Wednesday. Give me your reaction to what we've seen in Edo, what we've seen in Osun, in Osogbo, the state capital, and what we've also seen partly in Lagos today.
Well, thank you very much for that too. Well, that tells you of the growing consciousness of the Nigerian people and also their frustration with this administration. You see, these protests have been organic. They just came on their own because, I mean, the feeling has been unanimous. The person in Osogbo feeling the same way the person in Kano feels. I mean, the person, same thing in Mina, same thing, you know. So there is no ulterior motive to this. It simply tells you that the people have been pushed to the wall, and they are naturally going to react. You know, you must give something to the average Nigerian. The average Nigerian is a very accommodating person, okay? Very, very accommodating. But when you push them too far, they can not only back, I tell you, they can bite.
All right. And looking at where we are right now, the government has tried to push back on this planned protest. It has talked about it being in contravention of the court order, even though there are several other proponents that countered that argument. But in understanding the security situation that the DSS is talking about, give me an understanding of what they're telling you as the leadership of the NLC on why you shouldn't go ahead with this protest, as they said, quote unquote, in the national interest.
Well, I want to tell you this. First, we are not in violation of any court order. The Attorney General who pushed this agenda, with all due respect, he knows the truth. He knows that we are not in violation. Because of time constraint, I will not go into the details, but clearly he knows the truth. But of course, he has to, as a seasoned lawyer, as one who knows, the rules of the game, at the preliminaries, he has to, he has to do something to buy time.
Coming up after the break, lack of drinking water persists in just community and they cry for help. More news when we return. Do stay. Thank you for rejoining us. This is News Hour on Trust TV. Another look at our top stories. In a bid to cut down government expenditure, President Tinubu orders full implementation of the Orosanye report. Protesters erupt in Osun, Edo, as Nigeria Labour Congress prepares for nationwide march despite government pushback. Military and police authorities have rescued 16 kidnapped victims in Kogi State following a joint operation. The Kogi State Police Command spokesman, William Ovie Aya, said 11 of the victims were abducted from a Peace Mass Transit bus, while 5 others were abducted from a Sienna bus along Ete Enugu Ezike Road and taken to the bush on the 25th of February 2024. Ovie said following the kidnap incident, the joint Kogi police and military team from Enugu State promptly swung into action and trailed and rescued all victims from the bush unhurt. He added that the efforts are ongoing to apprehend the suspects and bring them to deserved justice. In the meantime, the Kogi State Commissioner of Police, Bertrand Onoha, has assured of the command's resolve to continue the fight against criminals and called on residents of the state to work with security agencies to ensure the safety of lives and property. Borno State Governor Babagana Zulum has expressed displeasure with the threat by IDPs in the state to join terrorists due to the prevailing hardship in the country. The governor stated this while addressing protesting displaced persons in Mafa community.
However, there is no any administration in Nigeria that is doing better than the government of Borno State in terms of distribution of food and non-food items. This has been globally witnessed by all and sundry. Security. Federal government has spent huge amount of money on security. We have realized substantial progress in terms of development and in terms of security in Borno State. Almost everybody in Mafa local government has access to agricultural land. 95% of the people have access to agricultural land.
Residents of Zinaria community in Jos North local government area of Plateau State have expressed concern over the lack of drinking water in the area. According to the community, several calls over the past decade to the government for intervention in the provision of water have all failed. Here's Ado Musa with that report.
This is Zinaria community, strategically situated on the hill of Zinaria. It has been facing water scarcity for many years, with children often trekking down the hill in search of water for their families. Due to the challenging terrain of the area, water vendors always struggle to reach their customers. Residents of the area have vowed to remain persistent in appealing to the relevant government authorities to come to their aid, despite having made several calls in the past. Lack of drinking water is one of our major problems in this area. That is, other social amenities aside. Without water, you cannot enjoy life. We have to trek far distances to get water. Water vendors are not always available because they find it difficult to get to the community due to the terrain. During every election period, you see people coming to seek our votes, but they rarely come to provide these essential amenities, especially water. In some cases, when we send our children downhill to fetch water, they don't always succeed. We are calling on the government to help us. Khalid Musa, a water vendor, explained that they are finding it difficult to deliver water to their customers on the hill. Delivering water to customers has been our major challenge because of the nature of the area. We suffer a lot before getting to them. Because of the difficulties, we charge them higher than what we charge other customers down the hill. We charge them 1,000 naira instead of 400 or 500 naira. Yusuf Ibrahim, a community leader, lamented the lack of water in the area. As a leader, I don't know how many times we are expected to appeal to the government to provide us with drinking water before they respond. We always present our demands to politicians before, during and after election, but they don't always respond. It has been difficult for us. Residents of the community who are voicing their concern over the pervasive issue of water scarcity plaguing the area are calling on the government to come to their aid. Ado Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
Delta State have lamented the continuous rise in the prices of food and other commodities across the state. While describing the prices of food items as unbearable, they lamented that the development might lead to malnutrition amongst children if nothing is done urgently. Trust TV's Jonathan Anwaya completes the story.
In an interview with Trust TV, the women said they are battling with soaring cost of food items such as rice, beans, gari, palm oil, tomatoes, onions, fruits, and others at the various markets across the states. They urge government at all levels to consider measures that would ensure steady supply of foods to markets, as well as a reversal of the surging price of commodities.
Bag of rice that we normally buy for like 30,000, 35,000 has gone up now to about 85,000, which is so bad. It's not encouraging at all.
Our life now is by grace. We can't buy anything in Delta State. To buy indomie is a problem, to buy gari is a problem, to buy fish is a problem. As a caterer, till now, from January to now, I did not cook anything for business.
Things are really difficult for everybody. We cannot eat well. We don't eat well anymore. There's no family that can eat 3 square meals a day. Not even 2 self is very difficult. So I want the government to help us. Let the government help us. Let them reduce the price of fuel. Because I believe that it's the price of fuel that is causing what is happening now. If the price of fuel, if they're able to reduce it, at least the price of commodity will come down.
According to them, the skyrocketing food prices have seriously depleted household budgets and put breadwinners in a very tight corner as they continue battling with modest wages. Jonathan Awaye, Trust TV News, Asaba.
House of Representatives Tajuddin Abbas has stressed the need for devolution of powers, including state policing and enhancement of fiscal federalism through local government autonomy. Speaker Abbas stated this on Monday while inaugurating the House Committee on the Review of the 1999 Constitution. Here's that report.
The House of Representatives Constitution Review Committee is chaired by Deputy Speaker Benjamin Kalu. The committee is tasked with considering various amendments to the 1999 Constitution, including reviewing proposed bills such as that seeking to alter Section 2 to address issues like secession from Nigeria by a state. Some other areas of consideration by the Speaker are decongesting the exclusive legislative list, recognizing and assigning constitutional roles for traditional institutions, and promoting inclusivity, as well as gender equity and women representation in appointive and elective positions. He implored the committee to align its work with the legislative agenda and revisit the issue of additional or reserved seats for women across legislative bodies and conferring citizenship on foreigners married to Nigerian women.
This gradual process will allow us to pilot innovative solutions, engage in meaningful experimentation, and gather concrete data and facts to inform our decisions. Also, this approach ensures that reforms are not only reflective, but also adapted to the unique needs and challenges of our great nation.
Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Benjamin Kalu, who doubles as chairman of the Constitution Review Committee, said Nigeria's new constitution will be ready for presidential assent in the next 24 months. He said the committee was ready to embrace the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead, leveraging the power of technology, social media, and inclusive engagement.
I call upon every one of you to actively participate in the constitutional reform process, to lend your voices, ideas, and expertise to craft a constitution that reflects the values and aspirations of all Nigerians. As John Marshall, the one-time American Secretary of State, once said, the people made the Constitution, and the people can unmake it.
Some dignitaries in their goodwill message emphasized the importance of promoting unity, inclusivity, and national cohesion in the reform process.
This committee's task is not just a matter of legal review, but is a duty to enhance the framework that governs our collective aspirations, rights, and duties as citizens of this great country. We will also work studiously and expeditiously to ratify the documents once they are passed down to the states by the National Assembly.
How we can harness the effectiveness and resource that women possess as about equal number of population. So it is something that the National Assembly must consider. Your Excellency Deputy Senate President, Your Excellency the Deputy Speaker, how we can make special constitutional provisions allow for greater representation of women in elective offices proportionate to their population.
While the move to amend the 1999 Constitution is ongoing, Nigerians have been encouraged to actively participate in the process, whether through public consultations, town hall meetings, online forums, and other means of engagement.
The Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Olukayode Ariwoola, has sworn in 11 new justices to the bench of the Supreme Court, charging them not to allow the ambition to becloud their sense of judgment. The justices are Jumai Hannatu Senki, Chidebere Nwoma Uwa, Chioma Egondu Nwosu Iheme, Haruna Simon Samani, and Mo Asemo Adumain. Others are Justice Obande Festus Ogwinya, Stephen Jonah Ada, Habib Adewale O Abiru, Jamilu Yamamatukur, Abubakar Sadiq Umar, and Mohammed Baba Idris. Justice Ariwoola noted that the interaction of the new justices with people of unenviable inclinations and pedigree, if any, must be halted forthwith, adding that they should allow their conscience to guide and filter every of the thoughts that traverses their minds. He told the new justices to be prepared for criticisms or verbal assaults by litigants who have lost cases as justices of the final court of the land, where appellants' expectations are often very high.
Eminent Supreme Court justices, it is a memory I will cherish all my life because it is unprecedented in the annals of the Nigerian Supreme Court. Like I stated in my 2023-2024 legal year speech, precisely on Monday, the 27th day of December, 2023, the inability of the court to meet up the statutory full complement of 21 justices had lingered on for too long, thus appearing to be like a jinx. I therefore made a categorical pledge that before I finish my tenure as the Chief Justice of Nigeria, I would, by the special grace of God, do everything within my ability to break that jinx and get on board the well-deserved full complement of the court. Today, as it were, it is apparent that all that is now history.
Time now to join Chiamaka Enendu for more business news.
This is the business news segment. My name is Chiamaka Nendu. We begin with news coming from the Central Bank of Nigeria as the CBN has today met with its first Monetary Policy Committee meeting under Governor Yemi Cardoso, with analysts expecting a significant increase in the benchmark interest rate, also known as the monetary policy rate. The MPC last met in July of 2023, and since Cardoso assumed office in September of 2023, the Apex Bank has utilized open market operations to tighten its monetary policy stance as part of efforts to combat inflation. The country's headline inflation rate for January 2024 was 29.90%, up from 28.92% in December, according to the National Bureau of Statistics. The central bank recently unveiled its MPC meeting calendar for the year, and analysts and economists have been actively forecasting the potential outcome of the meeting, particularly regarding the anticipated level of interest rate adjustment. And now to other news. The Naira experienced a significant uptick on Monday, reaching a peak of 2,100 per British pound in the parallel market, commonly referred to as the black market. This surge marked a notable increase of 7.62%, with the currency strengthening by 160.0 compared to the previous day's closing rate of 2,260. And this surge aligns with the Naira's heightened effort to address the persistent depreciation of the Naira. In response to the currency's decline, Nigeria has implemented various measures aimed at stabilizing its value. And these measures include intensifying enforcement actions against informal foreign currency street traders and targeting a well-known cryptocurrency trading platform. And still with news on foreign exchange, the president of the Association of Bureau de Change Operators of Nigeria, Aminu Gwadebe, says members of the association would consider measures if the proposed guidelines of the operation go into effect. The Central Bank of Nigeria, in a draft paper titled Revised Regulatory and Supervisory Guidelines for Bureau de Change Operators in Nigeria on Friday, proposed an increase in the share capital of Bureau de Change Operators to 2 billion naira and 500 million naira for Tier 1 and Tier 2 licenses, respectively. The currency operators were previously charged 35 million naira for a general license. And also, the Apex Bank would be mandating BDC license holders to make caution deposits of 200 million naira and 50 million naira for Tier 1 and Tier 2, respectively. According to the APCON president, the proposed cautionary deposit is not a global practice. Neither are BDCs engaging in deposit-taking operations. And now to news on how the NGX fared during today's trading session, where we did see the market start the week in the bullish trend after we had seen volatility and mixed sentiment as investors are back to rebalancing their portfolios. Let's take a look at how the NGX fared during today's trading session, where the all-share index was down by 0.09% at 102,088. The market cap hit 55.8 trillion naira, while the volume of trade hit 294.324 million, and the value of shares hit 6.7 billion, and the number of deals exchanged on the floor of the exchange was 7,081. Away from that, now let's take a look at the top gainers, with NASCON leading the gains, up by 10.00%, with Julie up as well by 9.83%, and First Bank Nigeria Holdings up by 9.68%. And now to the losers chart, with Nestle leading the chart, down by 10.00%, and Itana also down by 9.97%, and Fitcon was down by 9.82%. And now to the top trades and market movers, with FBN Holdings at 73.8 million shares leading that chart, and the United Bank for Africa at 20.7 million shares, while Zenith Bank also hit 20.6 million shares. And now to other markets from across the world. We start with the markets within Africa, with the Johannesburg Stock Exchange down by 0.72% at 74,213, and the Ghanaian Stock Exchange also remained unchanged, while the Nairobi Securities Exchange also remained in the positive, up by 1.08%. And right about now, let's take a look at how the currency market performed during today's trading session. And in the commodities market, oil prices fell on Monday, extending losses on market views that higher than expectations as inflation could delay cuts to high interest rates that have been capping growth in the global fuel demand markets. Let's take a look at how the commodities market performed. And that's it for the business news. My name is Chiamaka Nendu.
Thank you, Chiamaka, for bringing us up to date. And away from Nigeria, Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International have in separate statements accused Israel of failing to follow the International Court of Justice's ruling to take immediate and effective measures to protect Palestinians and allow adequate aid into Gaza. The order to provide aid was one of 6 provisional measures ordered by the court on 26th of January. In the order, Israel was given a month to report back on its compliance with the measures. Over that period, Israel has disregarded its obligation as the occupying power to ensure the basic needs of Palestinians in Gaza are met. Supplies entering Gaza before 26 January had already been woefully insufficient, yet in the 3 weeks after the order, the number of trucks entering Gaza actually decreased by about a third, from an average of 146 a day to an average of 105. Before 7th of October, on average, about 500 trucks entered Gaza every day, carrying aid and commercial goods, including food, water, animal fodder, medical supplies, and fuel itself, still insufficient for the needs of Gaza's population. It's time now to join Emmanuel Fashemi for Sports News.
The Super Falcons of Nigeria have qualified for the last round of the Paris 2024 Olympic Games qualifiers of the women's football event. The Super Falcons will beat Indomitable Lionesses of Cameroon 1-0 in the return leg at MKO Abiola National Stadium, Abuja, is on course to qualify after missing 3 editions. Esther Okoronkwo's lone goal in the 15 minutes secured the maximum win for the Nigerian women. South Africa will square up against Tanzania on Tuesday at the Mombela Stadium in Mombela, Mpumalanga, to determine who faces Nigeria in the last round of qualifiers bid for April 2024. The Bayana of South Africa holds a 3-0 first leg advantage over Tanzania. The senior men handball national team of Nigeria have begun intensive campaign in Abuja ahead of the 13th African Games, which will hold in Ghana in March. The Golden Arrows, who recently won the President Cup at the African Handball Nations Cup in Egypt, will be Nigeria's sole representative in the handball event at the African Olympics Games. Coach Solomon Yola, who is holding fort for head gaffer Coach Rafiu Salami, has invited 26 players who have begun camping ahead of the Continental Games. Several of the players that participated in the African Men's Handball Nations Cup in Egypt are included in the list. The 13th African Games will hold in Ghana from March 8 to 23rd, 2024. And that is it on sports. I am Emmanuel Fashimi.
And with that, we have come to the end of the News Hour on Trust TV tonight. Do not forget to follow us across all our media platforms and join our YouTube live stream for more news, programs, and documentary. My name is Eugenia Abu. On behalf of the team, we thank you for watching.